Hi, and thanks for joining us for our ADEA eLearn webinar, Where Are We? Virtual and Augmented Reality in Dental Education. My name is Michaela Tyson, and I'm the Senior Program Manager for Professional Development here at ADEA. I'm excited to have three speakers that will share their expertise with you today, but before we get started, I'd like to just go over a few housekeeping items about this Zoom platform. First, you can download a copy of the PDF slides from the chat menu. You can also take notes as we go along with that if you'd like. In the same chat menu area, you can post messages to other attendees. So feel free to use this area to say hello to your colleagues or send us some comments throughout the webinar. If you have any questions for the presenters though, please submit those via the Q&A menu option so that they can be easily referenced during the Q&A session. Now we'd really like to hear from you today, so please don't be shy. Lastly, this presentation is being recorded and will be placed on adea.org/elearn within a few business days. Next slide, please. Just a small note that none of the speakers today have financial conflicts relevant to their presentation. And with that being said, I'll now hand the mic over to Dr. Marcus Santos to begin the discussion.
All right, thank you so much for the introduction, and hello everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. Let me start my presentation. So, my name is Marcus, and today I'm gonna share my knowledge about AR VR, and the title of my presentation is Immersive Technology for Non-Gaming and Entertainment. The main idea of this presentation is giving you a brief overview, the general overview about immersive technology both for AR and VR. So before we start to go to the AR VR, I will briefly introduce myself. So I got my PhD from South Korea, and then I conducted my first postdoc at Fraunhofer Institute in Germany. After 1.5 years in Germany, I flew to Canada to conduct my second postdoc at University of Calgary, and now I'm a faculty at Digital Worlds Institute at University of Florida in Gainesville, Florida. And under our department, we have a reality lab to conduct an AR VR research with our graduate program. And my research interest is about XR applied research for non-gaming and entertainment field specifically. So I'm gonna share information about brief introduction about immersive technology. So before we go into immersive technology detail, I'm gonna show you about the 3D display. So there are 4 big fields in 3D displays: stereoscopic, AR, VR, integral image, and holographic display. And stereoscopic, basically an academic term for 3D cinema. So we already have, I believe, once upon a time you watch 3D cinema, and basically this is using a special techniques. We can split the movie or the image into left and right of point of view, and then using a special glasses, we can separate the foreground and background, and then we can create the illusion of depth so that the object or the actor can feel pop up from the screen. AR VR we will discuss later, and then integral image is basically we can capture the real object with the special techniques, and then we can create the elemental image like so. And then if we put some spatial lens array in front of this elemental image, we can reconstruct that 3D image. And the basic idea of this field is one day we can watch 3D cinema without any glasses. And finally, holographic display. So basically we can, with holographic display, just like in a science fiction movie, we can visualize the 3D object in the real environment or real space without any screen or any device like a phone or computer tablet. So now let's talk about AR VR. To explain about AR VR, I always use this diagram, virtual continuum. It was introduced by Paul Milgram and Fumio Kishino back in 1994. So basically, it's spanned from left to right, and starting from real environment, augmented reality, virtual reality, and virtual environment. So in here, as you can see, AR is closer to real environment, meanwhile VR is closer to virtual environment. So it means VR, we try to completely immerse a real user inside the virtual environment. Meanwhile, AR, we're gonna try to visualize virtual objects in the real world, just like explained by Robert Asuma in 1997. Furthermore, AR has 3 characteristics. It should combine real and virtual, it should be interactive in real time, and finally, it should be registered in 3D. Trend and directions. The first trends that I want to share is multiverse. Multiverse stands for multiple universe. So the idea is we're gonna have multiple layers of world per se. So starting from our physical world, what we are, where we live in right now, and then we have the digital version of our real world, and then on top of that, we can augment with some informations or whatsoever. That's where that's what we call the multiple universe. There are a couple layers of universe. And then, believe it or not, we actually already start the process to create this multiverse without even realizing it, maybe. And because if you realize our mobile phone, our current mobile phone is also function as a 3D space scanner, right? Even in the Apple latest iPad, they installed the LiDAR camera so that we can scan our room, and then we can augment with something. And then if you realize in our in a Google Map, the latest Google Map, they start to overlay the arrow or the direction right in the on the street, right? So this actually we start to build this multiverse paradigm. And then the other is we also try to combine AR VR with a couple emerging technology like blockchain and cryptocurrency, because it's all about digital data transaction. So we learned from the internet era. So once you upload something to the internet, so it basically belong to public domain. So we don't want that happen again, because in the AR VR and mixed reality world, everything gonna be virtual. So the owner of the data should be able to claim the ownership of that data, and then not only claim the ownership of that digital data, the owner also need to be able to secure and protect that data. That's why in this case, blockchain suddenly emerged as one of the technology that we can see it will work perfectly with AR VR setup. So let's say in the medical healthcare, we know that we have let's say we have a digital health history data, and then let's say I pick let's say Dr. Cortino as my dentist, so I can share my digital data, but instead of just sending the PDF through email and it's not secure, I can put Dr. Cortino as one of my chain first before, and then I can share. I can change the ownership of my digital data from me to Dr. Cortino so that for me it's more secure, and I can share it with peace of mind. So and then if there is the ownership change from one person to the other person, and then let's say there is the financial compensation, that's where we can use the digital currency or cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. And then cloud AR. So as we already discussed before, that we want to enhance, augment our world with visual data or whatsoever with AR. So imagine that if everything should happen in your phone, it's going to be very expensive computationally. I think we're going to need a very it's going to be very hard for our mobile phone to compute everything. So we think that if we can push all the data in the cloud, and then with the fast internet speed like 5G, we can pull the data that we want to reach in real time, and as well as we can do the real-time rendering. So I think it's gonna we think that that's gonna be very ideal situation instead of everything happen in your phone. So cloud AR is going to be the next trend. And social VR recently it's rise again as one of the hot topic. So if you remember in the beginning of VR, modern VR era, when you put the headset, a lot of complaint that actually even though you go inside the new world, you actually, as a person, you actually exclude yourself from your society. You pull yourself from your communities, and you don't know what happened outside your headset. But with COVID-19, now suddenly most of people should get isolated somehow in their house, in their office, or there is some necessary to, even though you still got isolated, you still want to be connected with your colleague, with your family. So that's why social VR lately become hot topic again in AR VR field. The next one is I want to share about a couple cool features about AR VR, and then I want to tie it with my present/past projects so that we can get a context about this discussion. The first one is the teleportation. So when I was a kid, I really a Star Trek fans. So I always watch the Star Trek movie episode. So especially my most favorite scene is when the spaceship member go to this space and they can teleport to somewhere else. So that's always my favorite scene. And then VR can help us to recreate this scene. So when you put headset, you can go to your place like Boston, Chicago, or New York. So, and VR, the cool thing about VR, we not only transport or teleport that user to the existed world, we also can transport that person to the fully fantasy world or full imaginary scene like this. And this is we implemented in the Giant Walkthrough Brain project. So there was a scientist who threw an idea to build a 7-story building shaped like a brain, and then where the visitors can enter the building and learn about the brain from inside the building. But of course, no one really invests to this idea. So we make the digital version of this idea by creating this this brain-shaped building. And then you can see we have this stairs in here, and here we have the walkthrough. So the user can walk through the brain and learn the brain anatomy. And then we create this as a VR cave experience as well, where we have this setup in University of Calgary, and we put the real user, they can explore the brain from inside the digital object, the digital brain. The other cool feature is spatial experience. So in my field, as well as in your field, we have a lot of 3-dimensional data, but unfortunately our current media, our current technology, like PDF or like video or conventional book, we always try to compress 3-dimensional data into 2-dimensional data. So a lot of aspect has been lost because we lost one of the important aspect, which is the volume. So with AR VR, we can actually present the data in the volumetric form. For example, like this is the project with one of my project with medical school, where we try to augment the conventional book with the AR technology. So as you can see here, once we point to this book, we can see the volumetric heart will appear, and we can interact in real time. Remember Robert Asuma AR definition. And then in this project, the cool thing about this project, there is a seamless transition from AR mode to VR mode. So if we pinch the screen, we go inside the brain and we can learn no, it's not brain. We can learn heart from inside the digital heart. We also combine with the plastic cadaver, like in this video. So when you point your camera to the plastic cadaver, you can see it. The AR technology will augment the plastic cadaver and show some required information. And this is another project that can show how we can use the spatial learning. So in this project, we use the meta space glasses. So meta space glasses is one of the most critical milestones in AR history, modern history, not the whole the modern history. So imagine that once you put the headset, you can see the floating HUD like this, and you can interact with the UI element, and then you can slide, and then there is and then you can pick one of the human system. In this case, I pick the muscle, and then you can rescale it, and then you can select the other type of human system like muscle, and then you can overlay your hand, and then you can have like an X-ray vision. You can also use your hand gesture to interact with the data like this. You can pinch your finger, it's unified again, and use this gesture to explode it, and then you can grab one of it, and then we can start to learn. The other project that I want to share is HoloCell. So if you have Microsoft HoloLens, feel free to download our apps. The app's name is HoloCell in Microsoft App Store. So actually, this is the first holographic tool for human cell visualization. In this case, we use eukaryotic cell. So this is a very short video to show how fun to learn about eukaryotic cell, and it's shown as a holographic display, as you can see here. And this scene shows us there is a depth sensation between the content and the user. So this is the user capture with the other camera in the empty room, but this is the view from his HoloLens. And the other cool feature is with AR VR, we can have the experiential simulation. Yeah. So for example, like in this project, we have a virtual cadaver, and then we're gonna immerse the user inside this lab, and there are two bodies presented, one with skin, one with the muscle. And then from there, the user can interact with all of the objects inside the virtual room. For example, like this, learning about the patient historical data. And then it can move from left hand to right hand without any problem. And then we can also grab the tool and do some dissection simulation, something like that. And the other project is in this case, we collaborate with the neurological department. So we call this as an exhibit or XR enhanced CBIT training for tics patient. So tics, for tics patient, they have a lot of wide range of triggers. For example, like a bright room, meet with stranger, or maybe noisy place, or even very quiet place. Every single patient got their own trigger, and sometimes the clinic find difficulties to simulate their trigger in the clinic. So we think that VR can be an easy medium to simulate their trigger. So imagine the patient just need to come and then say, hey, my trigger is a green wall. So we can put the virtual green wall, and we put the headset, and we can simulate that, and then we can start the CBIT training. So this is the example of exhibit project that we initiate with Norman Fischel Institute of Neurological Disease. In this case, we use museum because a lot of patients suddenly cannot control their tics when they visit museum, because the room is so bright, and then it's so quiet, and then a lot of stranger passing. And then in this case, in this project, we also immerse two users into one virtual environment. The idea is we want to have a remote clinic session, so they don't need to come to Gainesville or to the clinic place and then do the session. They can just running in the virtual environment. And then the last is I want all of us to, because this is a very new media, new technology, I want everybody to go wild and go crazy with your imagination, with your creativity. Feel free to combine a lot of things in your project. For example, like in one of my our project VR for dental implant simulation tool, we actually combine a couple things like teleportation, spatial, experiential, realistic simulation, social VR into one, and we bundle it into one experience. And for this project, furthermore will be discussed by Dr. Cortino Sukocho. And that's all my presentation for today. Thank you so much. Feel free to send me email if you have any question. So now I will pass the virtual microphone to Dr. Cortino Sukocho. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santoso, for your wonderful and inspiring presentations. So let me share my screen. Hi, everyone. My name is Cortino Sukocho, and I'm the director of a predoctoral income program at the University of Illinois at Chicago College of Dentistry. So today I'm going to present about the use of virtual reality in dental education. In 2019, Steve Bamburay proposed 10 key benefits of virtual reality in education. I'm going to highlight some of these benefits briefly. First is global transportation. VR breaks down geographical boundaries. Students can virtually visit places that are beyond their means in the real world. VR can bring the topics or materials into the virtual classroom as well. VR also provides a multi-sensory experience. Although tablets added touchscreen functionality to the multimedia experience of digital content, they don't come close to the kinesthetic experience provided by the virtual reality. In VR, one can move within a virtual space and engage with elements like never before. Next is active autonomy. A student within a VR experience is the master of their journey, with a great deal of autonomy in how they engage with the content. They can decide what, how, when, and where to learn. VR also can be used for virtual rehearsal. To practice and hone skills without fear of failure is incredibly powerful and can help students build confidence in new areas of learning. Next is a focused immersion. The immersed nature of VR means that the learners are literally engulfed with learning environment, and this, in turn, is a key factor in the retention of information. Lastly, students can use VR to connect with other students, as well as attend lectures and lessons delivered by educators across the globe. Multi-user or social VR platforms, as Marcus mentioned previously, will become thriving hubs for educational content as the entire concept of what school is and can begin to morph into something truly new. In healthcare sector, virtual reality has been used to train healthcare providers. For example, for CPR exercises. This training pedagogy is very useful since it breaks the geographical and time boundaries. Children's Hospital in Los Angeles has used this technology to train their healthcare providers to manage emergency situations. In this program, the user is immersed into the emergency room, manage the emergency situations, and learn to make a quick clinical decision. The supervisor can assess the learners in real time by watching the monitor.
I appreciated that it really takes you to a different place and it makes you feel as if you're in that new place. So I thought, why not use this in medicine, specifically in pediatric resuscitation, in order to give that trainee or the person that's practicing that same feeling.
Mixed reality also has been used recently to treat COVID-19 patients. For example, hand gestures allow doctors using the Microsoft devices to look at x-rays, scans, and test results, and communicate with colleagues in a different virus-free environment. Artificial intelligence has also been used to train supervisors on delivering bad news, such as termination of work to their employees. Standardized patients have been used in medical and dental education to improve students' communication skills. However, the standardized patients come with some limitations, such as the necessary human and physical resources associated with their use. The artificial intelligence virtual reality can be used to replace standardized patients in dental education in the future. In dentistry, significant advancement in virtual simulation, virtual reality, and augmented reality gave rise to AR and VR-based simulation devices used as an adjunct instruction tools during the preclinical training period or during the residency program. VR has been used mostly to teach dental anatomy at the pre-doc level and to teach oral surgery residents in performing orthodontic surgery. The COVID pandemic has created significant disruption of education system in the history worldwide. Many medical and dental institutions were forced to close and suspend their preclinical curricular and clinical activities. The current pandemic crisis highlights the need for an alternative solution for preclinical dental educations to prepare students with psychomotor skills in a safe and viable environment. This crisis has stimulated innovation in the pedagogic methodology. An additional measure, such as social distancing, has been proposed by the public health officials to slow the virus spread. This mandate may prohibit the instructing students from interacting closely and providing rapid assessment and feedback. These are pictures of my student performing preclinical exercises from implant treatment. One on the left is before COVID and one on the right is after the lockdown. So in this new normal, how can we engage our students in the preclinical training? How can we train their psychomotor skills effectively? How can we train them while observing social distancing? We strongly believe that virtual reality can be a potential solution to address these concerns. These are some examples of technology that are currently available and used for teaching didactic and preclinical skills. eHuman has provided a three-dimensional experience for learners to learn dental anatomy. Both Simodon and DenSim have provided a haptic and visual learning experience in teeth preparation. However, these teaching methods are machine dependent and students need to physically available at school to practice. At UIC, Craniofacial Center has created a virtual simulation that allows surgeons to practice and rehearse surgery using patient scans in realistic and zero-risk virtual reality environment. This 360 degrees virtual simulation also lets surgeons to step inside patient's anatomical structure to improve surgical outcome. Recently, our research group has developed an immersive VR program for dental implant surgery training using Oculus Quest. This project mimics the real-life scenario in a dental operatory and brings it into the virtual setup. Several essential supporting features were included to replicate the dental implant surgical procedures. This included a patient, surgical drill, an implant kit, a surgical knife, and a handpiece. The dental implant procedures begin at incising the patient's gingiva with the surgical knife. If the incising procedure is appropriately performed, the gingiva will be reflected and the mandibular will be exposed. After reflecting the surgical flap and exposing the bone, the osteotomy is initiated with the twist drills. The user can also pick a different size of twist drills and feel the drilling process. When it combines with the transparency adjustment, the user can estimate the drill depth to avoid the critical anatomical structure. And finally, the next phase is placing the implant. In this application, users can have an immersive experience similar to working in the real dental clinic. We recently conducted a study to investigate a student perception on the use of VR in teaching dental students on dental implant placement. A survey was created based on the Goodacre and Pulijalas group with some modification. And the first survey consisted of 18 questions and the second survey had 8 questions. The answer was based on Likert-like scale, ranged from 1 to 5, 1 being strongly disagree and 5 strongly agree. Some dental students were invited to participate in the study. First, each student was asked to fill out the survey of 18 questions prior to using the program. Next, a student then use the headset as control to explore the program. And then after each individual felt comfortable with the program and explored it for 10 to 15 minutes, they took off the headset off and completed the same survey again, which is post-test, with an additional 8 questions. The results indicated that all students gave a positive perception using this VR exercise. However, the student felt that the controllers were not sensitive enough to perform clinical work. This limitation can be improved with the use of VR gloves in the future. Multi-user virtual environment has been used and studied in education for more than a decade ago. This study has indicated that this virtual environment can promote student to faculty collaboration. Recently, multi-user virtual environment has been used to bring clinical therapy into stroke survivors' home. In this program, both the therapist and client met in the same virtual room. The therapist can provide some therapy movements that can be followed by the client. And the therapist can also assess the client movement as well. Multi-user virtual reality can also be used for emergency simulation training. Several healthcare providers work synergistically to manage one emergency situation. In addition to the personal experience or single user mode of VR program for dental implant surgery, we have added a communal experience into our visual activity to include a mentorship aspect. Communal experience in VR, also known as social VR, is an experience that allows multiple users to meet in the virtual environment and interact in real time. Since all users are connected through an internet connection, there's no location or distance barrier to prevent this project's communal experience. Multi-user VR offer learners and teachers an opportunity to participate in a virtual environment to interact with the target simultaneously and build, view, relay, and receive information. This allows social interaction without being physically in the same environment. In this virtual room, the faculty can demonstrate the implant surgical procedures while the student observe in the shared virtual dental clinic. Both users can interact visually and verbally. Student engagement and collaboration can be encouraged, particularly for the shy student. The learning process and assessment can be conducted via asynchronous or non-synchronous methods, since the training can also be recorded. Further, social distancing mandates during this pandemic can be resolved using this novel approach. This technology provides a safe teaching environment where the students closely observe the teacher and the teacher offers a rapid feedback. Therefore, we strongly believe that this multi-user platform is a valuable and promising tool for preclinical curriculum and exercise in the future. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Marcus Santoso as my collaborator for this project. And this will be the end of my presentation. Thank you. And next, I would like to introduce Dr. Ahmed Marus from the University of Iowa. I will now hand the mic over to Dr. Marus to begin the presentation.
Hello, everyone. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so thank you so much for joining, and thank you, Curtino, for the wonderful presentation. My name is, let's see here. My name is Ahmed Marus. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Iowa College of Dentistry, and I'll be talking about augmented reality and the future of dental education. I have done my prosthodontics residency at the University of Iowa, and I've been working in the Department of Prosthodontics for the last 4 years. So I have no conflict of interest in this presentation. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. So if I were to say we can interact with holograms and virtual objects and see them floating in the world around us, you'll probably think this is a science fiction movie or maybe technology of the future. But hopefully in this presentation, you'll come to see that it's actually a technology that's available now and will become mainstream in the years to come. So we'll be talking about augmented reality today, augmented reality in healthcare, in dentistry, and in dental education. So let's jump right in to the top here, augmented reality today. As Marcus has pointed out, augmented reality augments the world around you by virtual objects as you look through a screen. That screen could be an augmented reality headset. While you're wearing it, you'll be able to see those virtual objects in the world around you, or it can be the screen of a mobile device or tablet. In that case, the virtual objects are projected in the field of view of your screen. And that might sound familiar, because it probably is. You've seen this in the form of Snapchat and Instagram filters. People use them all the time and make funny stuff, but that begs the question, is this a fad? Well, let's look at the numbers. We all know how big dental implants are in the dentistry market. A recent survey by MarketWatch estimates that in 2024, the market share for dental implants is going to be $6.8 billion. Compare that to $50 billion in AR market share by 2024, you'd be able to see that there's a significant investment in AR with the tech companies. And let's look at who these companies are. You'll see that they're the major tech companies right now. And if that didn't convince you, well, maybe Mark here can convince you.
Let's talk about augmented reality. The goal here is to develop some normal size, nice looking glasses that you can wear all day and interact with holograms, digital objects, and information while still being present with the people and world around you.
So Facebook has a subsidiary Oculus, which is famous for their VR headsets, and they've partnered with Ray-Ban to produce their augmented reality headsets coming out in 2021. Microsoft already has their augmented reality headsets called HoloLens 2, but they're not really for consumers, and it's mainly slated for companies and big enterprise to be used in their workspace. Amazon has partnered with their subsidiary North to create augmented reality headsets. Google is working on the software side of things, creating AR Core, which helps developers make software for AR applications. Apple, on the other hand, is making its own development kit, which is called AR Kit, and partnering with Vive, a known VR developer. And if you look at the US Patent Office, you'll see multiple patents for what they call Apple Glass. They've planned it to be the replacement for the iPhone as the main interactive component for their devices. They're not alone. There are many other small companies developing their own software and hardware for augmented reality. So let's shift gears here, and we'll talk about augmented reality in healthcare. So a recent survey by Global Startup Hub indicates that there is over 576 AR startups in healthcare alone around the world. One of the more notable ones is Senti AR, which is used by cardiologists to aid in their surgeries. It overlays the surgical site, 3D models of the surgical site in their field of view, and makes it easier for them to access their surgeries and undergo their procedures. A similar software called Insight does the same thing for spinal surgeons, where they overlay the surgical site on top of their surgery, so they can place pins easier and undergo surgeries in a more effective way. Let's talk a little bit more about dentistry. There are a few augmented reality applications there. One of the more notable ones is Merida Dental's head-up display. It's more like a patient information system that is in front of you at all times. So you don't have to go back and forth between your monitor and your patient. This is a prototype, but it shows you the potential of where augmented reality is going in dentistry. eHuman has an augmented reality component where you could have your students log into your account and you'd be able to show them what you're evaluating in augmented reality. There are a few studies out there, mostly case reports about augmented reality. This one shows how you can use the augmented reality head-up display to place implants. This one is pretty interesting. It shows how to communicate to your patient and the lab by showing them in real time the restorations in their mouth in augmented reality. And finally, a study about how dental students study human anatomy by using a tablet and an AR skeleton. So they can go around looking at the skeleton, evaluating the different parts. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the future of dental education. For a long time, I thought it was 3D models. I've learned how to 3D model, and I've done many 3D models. I've published articles on how to use 3D models in dental education, and I partnered with the Joint Commission on National Dental Examination to develop the National Dental OSCE with 3D models. Also had a website made with all the 3D models of dental anatomy and root canal anatomy that is free to use and is free to access from all over the world. But it wasn't until I worked on this article with our dean, David Johnson, and my DEO, Dr. Julie Alloway, and it was something our dean said: how do we transfer the thought process of the experienced clinician to the student? And that got me thinking about learning and experience. How do people learn, and how do we gain experience? That led me down a deep rabbit hole and ended up with what we call associative learning. So what associative learning is it explains how it's more likely to create an experience and a lasting memory when there are multiple sensory inputs in that event. So for example, if you're with a patient, you're getting tactile information, sounds, emotions, facial recognition, and visual simulation. All these different things culminate together in the hippocampus and create a lasting memory or experience, something that you will remember for the rest of your life. So if you compare that to what we traditionally give students to learn, which is textbooks or PowerPoints, we don't have really any of those stimuli. We're left with only the visual simulation, which doesn't really create a long-lasting experience and does not really keep a long-lasting memory. So that got me thinking about augmented reality and how that could bridge the gap. So check this little publication out. This is a very award-winning publication with Sean Hawes, where he uses augmented reality with HoloLens to create a simulated patient and an immersive experience for the nursing students. They can interact with the student, and it creates the simulated environment that elicits all these different sensations and creates an experience. Even tactile sensation can be done by using haptic feedback gloves that can relay information about 3D objects, the texture and their softness and their weight, by using the haptic feedback incorporated in these gloves. So with all this, I felt like there was a need to change. We needed to explore this in dental education. So using some free software and some coding knowledge, I started developing my own AR application. And I'm going to show you a video here. We're going to break it down afterwards, but go ahead and take a look. So, as you've seen here, these discs that we're holding are what we call AR targets or anchors. The software is developed so that as it sees these anchors, it overlays them with 3D models, and the user can move them around and interact with them in real time. These particular AR anchors are just pictures I made on PowerPoint, and then I cut them up and stuck them to compact discs. But you can essentially format any AR anchor you want, like a picture on a screen or just a piece of paper. It runs on an iPhone 6, my old iPhone, but it can run on any of the other newer iPhones. And that headset is called a Merge headset. It's a generic AR VR headset. They're all pretty inexpensive. And that one's particularly important. We had to develop a way to get stereoscopic or binocular vision, which was pretty hard to code for. And for someone who hasn't had a lot of coding experience, it was pretty hard, but was able to develop that so that you can see two images and give you depth perception and a more realistic image. So essentially it does this by taking two views of that object from slightly different angles, and it projects them into each eye, and in your brain you can make a composite image that seems pretty real. We're planning on studying this, but before COVID hit, we had a chance to take a few snapshots of student perceptions. So take a look.
What? That is so cool.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
This is awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Oh, this is the poll. Cool.
Oh my god, what?
This would be so nice to have had like D1 year. Nice.
We're probably not going to ask people to buy bulky headsets and wear them all day, but you know, if Ray-Ban and Facebook's AR headsets come out in 2021, you can expect people to be wearing those all around. So when that happens, it's not hard to believe that we can incorporate something like this in reading material, for example, enhancing the reading experience. Put them in lectures, and as you flip through lectures, you can have 3D models incorporated in those, or just have them in their phones and be able to flip through different pictures and view different models as if they were in their hand. You can also imagine an AR typodont hybrid, where an AR model is overlaid on top of a typodont, giving you a more realistic sim clinic experience. You can also experience all that, like the conference we're having right now, in real time, in person, virtually. So Mattel are using HoloLens to have in-person meetings virtually throughout their company. So a few advantages stand out. In didactic education, it's clear that it can enhance spatial visualization of complex structures, enhance didactic knowledge via immersive scenarios, enhance virtual learning. In preclinical education, it can simulate an immersive patient interaction. And in clinical practice, it can have patient management head-up displays, patient communication like a virtual try-in, and lab communication. And as take-home messages, just last few points are just to know that there is a significant investment in augmented reality. AR will become widely available in the coming years. Embracing this change has the potential to enhance dental education. So kind of a preemptive kind of message here for when that happens. So when I first started this presentation, I talked about how we can interact with 3D models and holograms in real time. Well, that was true. The only difference here is that we'll all be wearing AR glasses. If we're all wearing them, then we'll see them as if they're around us all around. So with that, I'd like to thank you guys for having me and for listening to the presentation. I hope you liked it. We'd like to hear feedback from you guys, and obviously would like to interact and collaborate. So you can reach us in our contact information here. With that, I'll move the mic up to Michaela, and we can hear a little bit about the questions you guys have. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Santoso, Sikocho, and Marus, for your interesting and very intriguing, innovative presentations we had today. So we do have some questions from the audience that I would like to get your thoughts on with the time that we have left. And to our audience, please feel free to continue to send in your questions, and we'll get to as many as we can today. So to start us off, our first question is, what suggestions or insights do you have for schools that are interested in including VR or AR in their curriculum?
Okay, maybe let me try to answer. That's a very good question, actually. I think, you know, for somebody who has an idea but doesn't have a programming knowledge like me, like myself, it's completely different than Marus. Marus has, you know, he knows how to program it. I don't know. So I approach engineer, which is Dr. Santoso, to collaborate. So I think the first thing that you need to do is to contact somebody from, you know, this area to collaborate, and then to make a project together. Marus, did you have any input?
Yeah, I think, you know, with time, you'd be able to see how programming would probably eventually take over many other fields. It's becoming much more easier to program these days. Very similar to the transition from how PowerPoints were very hard to make, and then recent, like slides, were very hard to make in the early days, and it becomes easier. But still, something as complex as AR and VR would require you know, significant and experience in this. Even me, I mean, I'm only able to do the initial levels of this. You know, collaborating with Marcus is probably one of the better things that has happened, because it allows us to expand further than just the initial idea. So I do agree with Cortino that this is definitely something that is evolving really fast, and having an engineering background, someone who specializes in this, is an invaluable resource.
Marcus, do you want to say something?
My experience told me that in department level, if they want to, let's say, implement this new emerging technology, I think they also need to change their paradigm, because it's going to be this new technology, digital technology will totally change, maybe not totally, but at least there is a modification from their curriculum, the modification how they teach something. Because previously you use the plastic cadaver, now you're gonna use digital, how you're gonna test the skill, is it gonna be properly transferred from the instructor to student. So I think it's the paradigm or the mindset changing from all the faculty, dean, and all of the instructor in that particular department also require.
Great, thank you all. So the next question that we had is, are any of the presenters currently working on creating a VR platform specific to dental education?
So me, myself, I actually already working in the medical direction since I was in Calgary back in 2015. But since I met Dr. Cortino in the last 2019, I think I start to focus on the dental direction, and I think it's become more and more interesting for me personally.
Yes, actually, Marcus and I, we are working on another project, which is, you know, on top of this VR for implant placement. We are working on the, you know, hopefully we can create standardization, virtual standardization. So that will be the next project. And then, you know, we have a couple more ideas, you know, but again, you know, this is one project is like between 6 months to 1 year, you know, to develop. So.
Great. So we do have a question on standardized patients here, and it is, can you explain the standardized patient portion of this again? Do you program the patient on what to respond? How exactly does this work, especially for assessment purposes?
Okay, so Marcus may be able to explain from the technology part, but theoretically, you know, we are trying to create something like a Siri, you know, Siri or Siri that can be like a person, you know, person that is sitting in front in your clinic, and then the student hopefully can have a communications and learning, you know, how to communicate, how to get the medical record, how to, you know, for example, how to deal with angry patients, you know. So we are trying to create actually one scenario where, you know, we create a script for angry patient and also for the nice patient. Okay, so something like that. So maybe Marcus, you want to talk about from the technical part?
So for the technical part, I think we're still in a very early step. We still, you know, exploring what kind of VR experience we want to really build. But in general, we gonna try to build for both mobile and wearable VR. So we hope that we can reach wide range of audience without punishing them to buy the external or additional VR headset. So that's why we think maybe mobile VR will work and maybe AR will work. We still try to explore several possibilities, but and also because we want to combine as with the speech interaction, we also try to combine with sort of AI and then natural language processing, so that we can have a very seamless and smooth and the interaction part from between the user and the standardized patient.
Thank you. So we actually received a few questions on this, so I was wanting to get your thoughts on it. Is there a problem with seasickness when working in these virtual environments? People have noted that sometimes they get nauseous when they try on virtual goggles. So I'm just curious how you've dealt with that.
When I tried, when we asked some of the students to try our simulation, they did not express sickness. We call it visual sickness. However, maybe because they only tried for 10-15 minutes. I know literature actually mentioned about it. Again, depending on what kind of program that you are using and how, and then maybe how used to, for example, I'm not really that young anymore, so we are not used to do this kind of stuff. Younger generations, maybe they have a more capability to handle this kind of situations. Marcus, do you have any or?
So motion sickness, actually somehow during my experience, building VR experience, sometimes the easiest way to induce the motion sickness, because the real user is physically static, but our virtual avatar keep moving in the virtual environment, and our brain cannot handle it. That's the main cause of the motion sickness. So we physically static, but our virtual avatar moving here and there with the controller. So that's gonna be the easiest way to induce motion sickness. So fortunately, the latest VR headset, Oculus Quest, it's completed with inside-out tracking. So it means we can track the room, and then when you move around with the headset, our virtual avatar inside the VR environment also move, and suddenly it will reduce the motion sickness quite significantly. So actually, the motion sickness also happened to me. That's why in the beginning I never really liked VR, because only 5 or 10 minutes suddenly is getting dizzy. So, but with Oculus Quest, because when I move, the virtual avatar also move following my physical movement, then suddenly there is no motion sickness anymore.
Wonderful, thank you. So I think we have time for one last question, and we've received several questions related to this, but is there a good source for free software that one could experiment, or a best source that you would recommend that has basic information for beginners?
So I can help answer that question, since I was a beginner and still probably I am, but I think if you look into Xcode, if you're coding for Mac, it's a pretty simple coding language, and it doesn't have big capabilities to include multiple devices. It'll be pretty exclusive to Mac, but I found this to be one of the easier ones to learn. Maybe Marcus has more information about this as well.
I think there are two biggest development engine, and I think it has like a free license. Both Unity and Unreal, they offer a free license, but of course they're gonna cap, they're gonna close some features, and until you pay something, and then they will open the other features. So Unity and Unreal are free, and then if you want to start building VR, Oculus SDK actually free to download, but you have to buy the headset. But then don't forget, we have one of the cheapest VR headset that everybody have on your own pocket, which is your mobile phone, right? So you can use the Google VR Cardboard SDK, even though they already abandoned this SDK, but they open it up for open source, so everybody working together to build this SDK, to keep this SDK floating. So that's something that you want to try as well, Cardboard, Unity. And for AR, a lot of like a free AR SDK as well, like AR Kit, AR Core, Fuforia SDK. So if you want to have an affordable development cost, I think we have everything now.
Wonderful, and thank you again. I really can't thank you enough. We appreciate having your time here with us today, Dr. Santoso, Sujoko, and Maroos. And really, it was an excellent and fascinating presentation, so thanks for sharing that with us. On behalf of the American Dental Education Association, I'd also like to thank our audience for participating in today's event. In just a moment, a link to a post-event survey will appear on your screen requesting your feedback. We ask that you take a moment to complete this survey as it helps us plan our future web events, but it also serves as your mechanism for claiming the CE credits. A recording of this webinar will be available in a few business days at adea.org/elearn. Lastly, I'd like to remind you that ADEA offers free webinars each month. Our next presentation will occur Thursday, November 18th, and will discuss creating a secure and searchable patient database for use in case-based learning. You can register for this webinar as well as our other upcoming webinars at adea.org/elearn. Take care, be well, and we'll see you next time.